There are moments in life when we look around and realize no one is coming, not to rescue us, not to cheer for us, not to tell us we're doing the right thing, and while that experience can feel heavy, it carries a quiet truth. It is often in these moments that our greatest growth begins. We are taught to believe that progress requires a support system, a network, a team, and yes, those things help, but the foundation of getting ahead, even when no one stands beside you, starts somewhere far more personal: your purpose. When you have a clear why, you no longer walk alone. Purpose becomes the voice that encourages you in the silence. It becomes the friend that reminds you why you started, and it becomes the compass that guides you when doubt creeps in. But purpose alone is not enough. To move forward, you must also learn to trust yourself, not through grand achievements, but through small, consistent actions. Each time you set a goal and keep your word to yourself, you build evidence that you are reliable. And slowly, your confidence stops depending on applause and starts depending on integrity. And something interesting happens when we feel alone. We begin to see what we are truly capable of. Without the pressure to compare, without the noise of other people's opinions, we discover strengths that are usually hidden beneath comfort. Isolation doesn't just test you, it teaches you, but the real breakthrough happens when you shift your focus from what you lack to what you can give. You move ahead not by chasing validation, but by contributing something meaningful even when no one notices at first, because contribution creates momentum, and momentum attracts the right people, the right opportunities, and eventually, the right support. So if you feel that no one is there for you, let this be your reminder: you are not behind, you are not broken, you are being prepared, prepared to lead yourself, prepared to build something from the ground up. Prepared to rise without permission. Getting ahead isn't about who stands with you at the beginning, it's about who you become along the way, and sometimes the most powerful version of you is born the moment you realize you already have everything you need to take the next step. Clarity of purpose is more than simply knowing what you want to achieve. It is understanding the deeper reason behind why you want to achieve it. Most people focus on goals, but goals without purpose are fragile. They collapse under pressure, get abandoned when challenges intensify, and lose meaning when things don't go according to plan. Purpose, on the other hand, is durable. It can withstand discouragement, isolation, and doubt because it is not dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in conviction. When you are striving to get ahead with no one to support or guide you, clarity of purpose becomes your most dependable source of strength. It replaces the encouragement you wish you had and becomes the internal voice that reminds you to persist. Purpose gives direction. Without it, your efforts drift, your priorities scatter, and your energy becomes diluted. When you know your purpose, you no longer move aimlessly. Every choice, every effort, and every sacrifice gains meaning. Even when you struggle or fail, purpose gives you a framework to interpret those moments productively. Instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to think, "How is this connected to what I'm meant to do?" This shift transforms obstacles from barriers into teachers. You begin to see that progress is not always visible, but it is always occurring when your actions align with a meaningful reason. Clarity of purpose also helps quiet the noise of comparison. When you lack support, it's easy to look at others who seem to have more help, more opportunities, or more encouragement, and believe you are at a disadvantage. But purpose neutralizes comparison by giving you something unique to pursue. It reminds you that your path is not supposed to look like anyone else's path. This understanding reduces the pressure to keep up with others and strengthens your focus on what actually matters to you. In this way, purpose not only grounds your motivation, but also protects your mental and emotional energy. When no one is there to validate you, purpose becomes a self-sustaining force. It provides a reason to wake up early, to practice consistently, to study deeply, and to refine your craft even when no audience is watching. People often think they need motivation to build momentum, but the truth is the reverse. Clarity creates motivation, and action sustained by purpose builds momentum. Over time, the results of this momentum make your progress visible, even if it began in complete solitude. Many individuals who achieved remarkable success did so long before anyone believed in them. Their purpose carried them through the quiet seasons when no one was applauding or supporting them. Purpose also supports resilience. When setbacks occur, and they always do, your purpose serves as a stabilizer, preventing you from giving up prematurely. Without it, challenges feel personal, heavy, and discouraging. With it, challenges feel like necessary steps in a larger journey. Purpose allows you to interpret difficulty as evidence that you are growing, not failing. This perspective is essential when you are navigating life without external support. It enables you to continue moving forward not because things are easy, but because your reason for starting remains meaningful. Clarity of purpose simplifies decision making. When you know what truly matters, you naturally eliminate distractions. You stop chasing every opportunity because you understand that not every opportunity aligns with your direction. You stop allowing fear to dictate your choices because fear loses power when your purpose feels more important than your discomfort. This level of clarity makes your progress more efficient. You spend less time questioning yourself and more time taking deliberate action that moves you closer to who you want to become. Purpose is a source of identity. When you act from a place of deep conviction, you begin to see yourself as capable, committed, and intentional. This identity influences your behavior. You take yourself more seriously. You set higher standards. You keep your promises to yourself, and the more you live in alignment with your purpose, the more self-respect you build. This self-respect becomes a powerful tool when no one else is there to acknowledge you. It anchors your sense of worth and reinforces your belief that you are capable of moving forward even in isolation. Clarity of purpose does not require anyone else's approval. It does not weaken when others doubt you. It does not disappear when support is absent. Instead, it strengthens, focuses, and elevates you. It becomes the silent companion guiding you through uncertainty, the constant reminder of why your efforts matter, and the internal engine that keeps you advancing, step by step, toward the life you are determined to build. Self-trust does not arrive through grand victories or dramatic moments. It is formed in the quiet, ordinary decisions you make every day, the ones no one sees, no one praises, and no one reminds you to complete. When you have no external support, these small disciplined actions become the primary way you build a relationship with yourself. Each choice becomes a message that says, "I can depend on me." Over time, these messages accumulate into a deep sense of confidence that does not require validation from others to exist. Small actions matter because they are achievable. Big goals often feel overwhelming, especially when you are alone. But a small action, waking up when you said you would, studying for 15 minutes, writing a single paragraph, exercising for a few minutes, is something you can complete even when motivation is low. These small commitments become the building blocks of reliability. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you keep your word, and every time you keep your word, you strengthen your internal foundation. Discipline plays a central role in this process. Discipline is not punishment, it is alignment. It is the practice of doing what is necessary even when you don't feel like it. Feelings fluctuate, but discipline steadies you. When you act with discipline, you shift your identity from someone who reacts to circumstances into someone who chooses their actions intentionally. This shift is powerful when you're trying to get ahead without support because it means you are no longer controlled by mood, uncertainty, or the absence of encouragement. Instead, you operate from a place of consistency. What makes disciplined small actions so transformative is that they teach you to trust your future self. When you repeatedly complete the tasks you set for yourself today, You begin to believe that tomorrow's goals are also within your reach. This belief changes how you plan, how you work, and how you dream. People often underestimate how much easier life becomes when you trust yourself. Decisions become clearer because you're no longer negotiating with doubt. Your goals feel possible because you've developed a track record of taking action, even in difficult moments. Self-trust also protects your energy. When you rely too heavily on others for accountability, motivation, or direction, you become dependent on something that is out of your control. You are left waiting for someone to push you, approve you, or guide you, but self-trust removes the waiting. It empowers you to initiate, to take responsibility, and to create momentum on your own terms. This level of autonomy makes progress more sustainable because it does not collapse when external support disappears. Another essential aspect of building self-trust is keeping promises to yourself. Most people are careful not to break promises to others, but they break promises to themselves with surprising ease. Every time you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow and don't, or that you'll stay committed and drop the habit, you send a subtle message that your own word holds less value. This gradually weakens your confidence, but when you reverse this, when you treat your commitments to yourself with seriousness, they become powerful tools of transformation. Even the smallest promise kept builds inner strength. Self-trust also grows through accountability, not to others, but to your own standards. The more you practice self-discipline, the more you raise the expectations you have for yourself. You begin to hold yourself to a higher level of effort, focus, and responsibility. This inner accountability becomes a consistent guide, shaping your behavior and keeping you aligned with your goals. It ensures that your progress is not dependent on anyone else's reminders or pressure. It becomes self-generated and self-maintained. When you consistently follow through on small actions, your confidence becomes evidence-based. It's no longer an abstract belief. It is grounded in repeated personal experience. You know you can rely on yourself not because someone told you, but because you've proven it again and again. This kind of confidence is far more resilient than confidence built on external praise. It lasts through failure, fatigue, and uncertainty because it is built on disciplined action, not approval. Small disciplined actions also create momentum. Momentum turns effort into habit, habit into routine, and routine into identity. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes automatic. This is how people who seem self-motivated actually operate. They started with small actions, repeated them with discipline, and eventually became the kind of person for whom progress is natural. When no one is supporting you, this momentum becomes one of your greatest advantages. It keeps you moving forward even through challenging periods. Ultimately, self-trust is the foundation that makes independence possible. When you trust yourself, you don't fear starting, failing, or trying again. You don't need constant reassurance because you know your discipline will carry you. You get ahead not by waiting for motivation, but by creating it through consistent, meaningful action. Through small, disciplined steps, you cultivate a strength that is quietly powerful, a strength that no one can give you and no one can take away. Isolation is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness or abandonment, but in reality, it is one of the most valuable environments for self-discovery. When you find yourself without support, without a mentor, without encouragement, and without anyone watching your progress, you enter a space where every action, thought, and decision becomes your own. This is where growth accelerates. Without the influence of others' opinions, expectations, or judgments, you begin to see who you truly are, not who you have been shaped to become. Isolation gives you the rare opportunity to study yourself with honesty, your habits, fears, strengths, and potential. And this level of awareness becomes a powerful foundation for getting ahead. Isolation teaches responsibility. When there is no one to guide you, you must become your own strategist, planner, and evaluator. This forces you to rely on your own judgment, even when you doubt it. You learn how to solve problems without waiting for someone else to provide answers. This kind of self-reliance builds mental resilience because each challenge you overcome alone adds to your internal library of experience. You begin to trust your ability to handle the unexpected. Instead of hesitating, you start taking action, knowing that you've faced difficult moments before and found your way through them. Moments of isolation also sharpen your focus. When external voices are absent, whether supportive or critical, the noise that normally clouds your thinking fades. You begin to listen more closely to your intuition. You notice what truly inspires you, what drains you, and what feels meaningful. With fewer distractions, you start directing your energy toward what matters most. This deepened sense of focus becomes a competitive advantage. Many people struggle because they are pulled in multiple directions by expectations and opinions. But when you spend time alone, you gain clarity that others rarely experience. You become intentional rather than reactive. Isolation reveals strengths you didn't know you had because it removes the safety nets that usually protect you. When you can't lean on others, you naturally tap into capabilities that remain hidden during comfortable times. You discover creativity when solutions are limited. You find courage when no one else is there to encourage you. You develop discipline because you understand that no one is coming to rescue you from your responsibilities. Each time you rise to the occasion, you uncover another layer of your potential. These discoveries are not theoretical. They are proven through action, which makes them even more empowering. Another lesson isolation teaches is emotional independence. It trains you to regulate your emotions without relying on external reassurance. Instead of seeking validation, you learn to give yourself permission to feel, process, and move forward. You become more resilient because your self-worth no longer depends on whether others approve of your path. Emotional independence allows you to stay committed even when others don't understand your goals. It strengthens your inner stability, which becomes essential when pursuing long-term growth. Isolation also fosters creativity. With fewer voices influencing your thinking, your mind becomes more open to new ideas. Many breakthroughs in art, science, and personal development have emerged during periods of solitude. When you are alone, your thoughts have room to expand, explore, and innovate. You begin to see solutions that were previously overshadowed by noise. Creativity thrives when the mind is allowed to wander without interruption, and isolation provides that space. It also teaches patience. Progress often feels slower when you're working alone, but this perceived slowness trains you to develop long-term vision. You learn to appreciate incremental growth rather than quick wins. You begin to value consistency over intensity. Patience becomes a form of strength because it keeps you grounded, committed, and focused on the process instead of the pressure to prove yourself quickly. Isolation highlights the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the emotional pain of feeling disconnected. Solitude is the intentional use of time alone for growth. Over time, you begin to shift from loneliness to solitude. You start to appreciate the quiet because it becomes a space for self-improvement. You realize that being alone is not the same as being unsupported. Sometimes it means being uninterrupted. It also elevates your standards. When you spend time alone reflecting deeply on your values and goals, you become more selective about the people, habits, and environments you allow into your life. You begin to protect your energy more fiercely. This makes your future relationships stronger, healthier, and more aligned with who you are becoming. Ultimately, isolation teaches you that silence is not empty. It is full of answers. In those silent moments, you meet the version of yourself capable of moving forward without applause, without reassurance, and without permission. You discover that the strength you were searching for in others was already within you, waiting to be uncovered. Comparison is one of the most powerful distractions in personal growth. It steals attention, drains confidence, and shifts focus away from the work that truly matters. When you measure your progress against others, you place your energy in areas you cannot control. Some one else's timing, opportunities, resources, or circumstances. This habit creates frustration and self-doubt, especially when you feel unsupported. But shifting from comparison to contribution changes everything. It moves your attention from what others have to what you can create. Progress becomes a matter of effort, not envy, and success becomes something you build, not something you chase. Contribution redirects your mindset from "what am I missing" to "what can I offer." That simple shift carries enormous power. When you focus on giving, whether it's skill, insight, effort, creativity, or support, you step into a position of influence rather than insecurity. Contribution expands your capacity because it requires engagement, problem solving, and initiative. These actions strengthen your abilities while comparison simply exhausts them. Every time you choose contribution, you take an active role in shaping your growth instead of a passive role in observing someone else's. Focusing on contribution also builds purpose. When your effort is directed toward creating value, your work feels meaningful. Even small contributions, a single idea, a consistent routine, a small improvement, begin to create ripple effects. You start to see how your presence matters, which reinforces your motivation. This sense of impact becomes a powerful source of progress when external support is lacking. Without someone encouraging you, the feeling that you are contributing something worthwhile becomes its own form of encouragement. Contribution strengthens identity. Comparison asks, "How do I measure up?" Contribution asks, "Who am I becoming?" When you commit to giving your best consistently, you shape your identity around growth, effort, and integrity rather than insecurity. This identity becomes a compass that guides your decisions and helps you maintain direction even when others doubt you or fail to support you. You begin to trust your abilities because your value is no longer defined by how you rank against others, but by the work you put into the world. Contribution also builds momentum. When you focus on what you can create, you naturally stay in motion. Small wins accumulate, skills sharpen, opportunities emerge. This momentum is far more sustainable than the temporary boost that comparison sometimes provides. Comparison may spark short bursts of competitive energy, but it rarely leads to lasting progress. It often results in burnout, frustration, or giving up. Contribution, however, creates steady, meaningful growth that compounds over time. Another significant benefit of focusing on contribution is that it improves your emotional well-being. Comparison feeds jealousy, resentment, and inadequacy. Contribution cultivates gratitude, optimism, and confidence. When you measure success by your ability to improve, learn, and give, you become less reactive to others' achievements. Instead of feeling threatened by their progress, you feel inspired by your own. This emotional shift frees you to act boldly without constantly evaluating your worth through someone else's journey. Contribution also increases your influence. People naturally gravitate toward those who provide value. When you consistently contribute, whether to a team, a project, your craft, or your personal development, you create a reputation built on reliability and impact. Even if you start alone, your contributions will eventually attract the right people and opportunities. This attraction is authentic and sustainable because it is based on substance, not comparison. People trust those who give, not those who compete endlessly. Focusing on contribution helps you stay anchored during difficult moments. When challenges arise, comparison discourages you by highlighting how far behind you feel. Contribution encourages you by reminding you that every step forward still matters. You begin to see setbacks as part of the process rather than evidence of inadequacy. This mindset keeps you moving when motivation fades and when support is absent. Contribution also fosters creativity. When you are not constantly comparing your work to others, you give yourself permission to experiment, innovate, and explore your unique strengths. Comparison narrows your vision, contribution expands it. You begin to think more freely, take more risks, and develop original ideas because you are focused on expressing your potential rather than matching someone else's path. Focusing on contribution helps you build a life that aligns with your values. When you give rather than compare, you make decisions based on integrity instead of insecurity. You pursue opportunities because they align with your purpose, not because someone else is doing them. You measure progress by personal growth rather than external metrics. This alignment creates a deeper sense of fulfillment because you know that your success is built on authenticity, effort, and intentional action, not on comparison or competition you never asked for. Contribution transforms the way you grow. It turns your energy inward toward mastery, outward toward impact, and away from the unproductive cycle of comparison. It allows you to get ahead even when no one supports you, because you are not fueled by others. You are fueled by the difference you choose to make.